deck as well in combination with Aldraki Warblades. Outside of that specifically, though, and I guess Mana Giant is the really big one against Mage as well. There aren't too many specific interactions you're looking to hit. It's just a decent card, which I can appreciate, because now that Vendetta and Dragon's Horde have been all but deleted most of the archetypes, I think there's a little bit room for flexibility, which I do like.
And we are going to start off with the Face Hunter from Shaxy against Flurry's Rogue, and I would say this is the matchup that Shaxy did not want to hit. The ladder stats would have it whereas good matchup against Bomb Warrior without the Pirate package, which is what Flurry is running.
Yep, it's just looking like a very strong deck in his lineup overall against Flurry. How he wants to play this out, though, is kind of interesting, because obviously Coin Felmore is always what you want to do with this deck when it's offered to you to get it online as soon as possible. But the follow-up is really underwhelming, to be honest.
It truly is. It's looking like pressure play, but as Face Hunter, it's perfectly valid to just play with the top of your deck. It's a safe assumption that you're going to get something cheap in the near future, and at the very least, I guess the secret is not so bad. But the alternative of just Demon Companion on one, and then Kolek and Refa are both pretty bad results, being dead to Dagger or Dagger in trade. And so I think it's correct for Shaxy to just get the Felma online as soon as possible.
I agree. I think you got to get rolling here. But Flurry, on the other side, this is where things get interesting, because having all these, or both these one-mana minions, is pretty good here in order to distract the Felmore from going to your face and killing you. Whether you played them out on this turn was the interesting part to me, though.
Well, it doesn't seem like they're getting much better on the next turn. Let's say that Flurry just daggers there. The expected play from Shaxy is a 2-drop like this. And then you're playing a 1-1 and a 1-2 into the 2-drop without any initiative. So even though it seems suboptimal for Flurry, I like that he's scrapping together a board like this.
Ooh. That's an interesting selection. Yeah, I mean, Studies is not playable on this turn, and you obviously miss some of the power spikes that Mage has access to, but it's less susceptible to your opponent clearing the board. It's interesting.
It's true. The potion was likely to just pick up 3 minions, or even less, because the Felma hit the 1 minion that reborned itself.
Right.
So that would be an extremely slow turn if Flurry took it, so I don't mind the Primordial Studies. It also has some synergy with the backstab. So Shaxy is running 1 Freezing Trap, 1 Pack Tactics, and 1 Pressure Plate.
So many.
So I don't feel like Pressure Plate is particularly scary here. I don't think there's any harm in Flurry starting off with a backstab.
Exactly. It's just if there are like any spell damage minions that benefit from having a spell played, and at this cost I don't think so. No spell burst effects to go alongside them.
And I think Flurry would be perfectly happy to just eviscerate the Felma, play the other Neophyte, and carry on. He's wide on the board. This is the exact type of board state that Face Hunter really struggles to deal with. This is the list that's not running Unleash the Hounds. I've seen a couple of versions on ladder that have Hounds and Animal Companion, but I think this most popular version does not have a great way to stave off small minions. So Explosive Trap for this.
And it feels bad for Shaxy to just throw down the Dragonbane, especially when he got the top deck tour guide. But the way I see it, it's got to come down. You need to start getting something on the board to fight back. Because like you said the other day, as soon as Face Hunter's behind, it's not winning games of Hearthstone.
Gonna try and leverage the 5 health. Maybe Flurry doesn't have a good answer, and so he goes fishing for it. But Frostbolt makes life a bit easier. He can also fit in the Primordial Studies and potentially just have to trade the Murmy or even Dagger.
That's an interesting selection. Obviously, Reservoir is playable right now if you really want the spell damage, but I have got my eyes on that Violet Warden, I've got to say, for next turn, and just trade in a couple of the minions with the Frostbolt here.
I agree. The Violet Warden is just value that Flurry sorely needs from this point. The only upside of Mana Reservoir this turn is the fact that you get to save 3 health from your Dagger and Murmy, most likely. That doesn't seem hard.
Yeah, I agree completely. You just want to make sure that you have value at all points along the way to keep going.
Okay. Something coming together for Shaxy.
It's a good draw. If Flurry got a really dead spell damage minion here, Shaxy could look at like outvaluing if Flurry gets prep into prep or something very low value like that. Because he has some relatively high value draws in his deck, primarily Polkelt being that answer.
We shall end this disturbance.
It's a very weird playout, which could have been disastrous for Flurry had he not taken this Violet Warden. Because if Shaxy did manage to just, say, isolate the Mana Reservoir and draw into the second Voracious Reader, the value game plan is very real. But now without a beast for Shaxy, the Violet Warden is extremely annoying.
He can get one with
he gets the Marcel.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's actually not that far behind anymore. He's winning on board at this point. He can clear everything off. And although he's taken a lot of damage in the early game, Flurry has no reach. This is what I was talking about. Flurry is just kind of, for the moment, getting outvalued.
Trade Hunter.
Imagine.
And because there are very few secrets that, you know, Shaxy even has to worry about, Flurry is running no ambushes, then Shaxy can pretty happily just not play spells and continue to starve Flurry of resources.
I mean, I think at this point, Eaglehorn Bow, perfect. You equip that, you shoot phase every turn, and then you're probably just going to win.
There's an argument for shooting Edwin and then sending everything else face, because if the Edwin trades, then you can either shoot it again or just use another 1/1.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
I'm gonna kill it with the bow instead. This preserves his Dwarven Sharpshooter. Oh, best draw for Flurry.
Fantastic draw at this point, Flurry. We're looking for big minions, big taunts. Not that. But still, it's a lot of stats on the board. It's one of the best plays by far.
Not the greatest, but it might be enough. Like, Shaxy is kind of dying if he doesn't deal with the 4/4.
Flurry's kind of dying as well, though. It's going to come quicker than you think.
It's just that Shaxy's not able to play the kill command, but the Phase Stalker is pretty great. I don't think it's worth kill commanding to give Flurry 2 cards just to get rid of a 4/4. So, isolate Jandis.
Yes, sorry. Depending on the secret here, it does make a difference, of course. This, even if you don't have Freezing Trap, it bluffs the Freezing Trap, I suppose.
Isolate the Frostwolf, I meant, sorry. Definitely kill off Jandis, because if that gets bounced, then you're just losing.
Yes.
Like Phase Stalker?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good draw. You kind of hope you could turn off the effect that kills the other one, I think, but you take it.
There's Is there any way to get fancy with pack tactics? Because you can kill both the copied minion and the minion itself if it's pack tactics with the flick. But it's really weird because you waste your attack trying to proc it anyway.
Right, and you still have to tank 2 damage that way, right? I guess if you're really dead set on trading, there is a way you can get a little bit fancy with it. But then if you should attack with the... Oh no, but then if it's Freezing Trap, you've just tanked damage you didn't need to.
Maybe it's just 4/4 to face first and then evaluate. Yeah, I like this. So he knows it's not freezing, and now you just don't attack minions at all.
Yeah, he's set up lethal here.
Yeah, I like this a lot.
Whoa.
Oh man, he has to play a spell.
He does have to play a spell. That is guaranteed Volpatinger at this point, though, with the other Phase Stalker being destroyed, which is quite a lot of pressure on the board, with a kill command as well to clear off the board. It's getting somewhere, maybe.
Yeah, but does he kill off the other 4/4? It feels like he can't really afford to, because you're not setting up the 2-turn. You give up the board. I think the play is just hope that Flurry doesn't get burst with the 2 draws he's given.
So if you go...
He does, however, have 2 eviscerates in the deck.
What if you go kill command face and then trade in with your other guys for maximum damage efficiency? At that point, you get them down to 12, which even next turn you only have maximum 11 damage, then it still doesn't quite get there.
I think that the 2-1 attack minions, at least one of them has a good shot of landing face again, so it almost equalizes the damage from Hero Command and Hero Power anyway.
It does seem that way.
Uh-oh. Pharaoh Cat, miracles need to happen.
So Flurry is dead on board currently. Obviously with the trade he can... Oh no, but there's the pack tactic, so he can't even stop the trade damage.
He needed like Restless Mummy or a Kartut Defender or the even Rap Golem to create a taunt, but it's just not there.
He can trade with the dagger first and then trade. He's still just dead.
Yeah. It's just that proccing pack tactics actively creates more problems for him.
Yep.
And he is certain that that is pack tactics because Pressure Plate has been used and he tested for Freezing Trap the last turn. Just locked out.
Yeah, that's just it.
So many options.
Thinking through it.
That was extremely close.
It really, really was. And I think a well-played mid-game as well from Shaxy. Like, there were multiple points where you could start ignoring the board and pushing for much more face damage instead. But I think he was very disciplined in going face exactly when he needed to try and equalize the damage race in his favor. I think it was very, very well done.
Definitely not your most straightforward face hunter game plan, but well recognized that Flurry was playing out Blackjack Stunner as a 1-mana 1/2, his hand was double Shadow Step, and Shaxy found the spot where he could abuse the draw from Flurry.
Yeah, nicely done indeed. Unlucky for Flurry there as well. I think that, you know, as you laid out, playing with tempo in mind in the early turns, going for maximum development of the 1-drops right from the get-go was definitely the way to play it out. The one question you can have that maybe could have turned things around is obviously Potion of Illusion versus the Primordial Studies. It's a much slower option in terms of immediate tempo, but given that he had the Wand Thief on board, maybe that could have given him the miracle out. Obviously, we're working with a lot of imperfect information here, and I think he probably made the right call there of just going for the higher tempo play.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think of the 4 minions he had on board, the only good potion target was the Wand Thief, and he also couldn't tell where the Awoken Felmaw was going to go, so he might have lost the only good target and spent 4 mana doing not so much in the very end. I do like both decisions from both players, and happy to see it because Flurry's a player that we've been, you know, pretty critical of in the past few weeks.
Yeah, indeed. It's been a rough few weeks for Flurry here in particular, but it seems like now turning things around, hopefully we can see him at his best as he tries to secure his spot in the playoffs. This match against Shaxy is, of course, once again, the player locking themselves in the top 4 to try and fight for their spot in playoffs next week. When we come back from this break, we're going to see if Shaxy can go all the way or if Flurry can turn things around. We'll be right back. Shaxy's playing up against Flurry in our first match of the day. It was a close and a weird win for Shaxy in the first game, but you take them where you can get them. And now he's had the Hunter win against the Rogue. Now he's going to be going with the Demon Hunter up against the Rogue. And he's got a slightly different take on the deck here, Gia, with the Battle Fiends that are obviously still somewhat contentious as a put in the deck. And a single Cult Neophyte, which Shaxy does seem to be a pretty big fan of.
Yes, I've been playing a lot of Demon Hunter on ladder recently, and it feels like the Battle Fiends, if they don't come on turn 1, are very, very low impact. You're sad to get them off of Skull. Usually by that point in the game, you're trying to hit your higher impact cards. The Cult Neophyte is pretty interesting as an inclusion. I feel like this is a card that traditionally messes with Druid the most directly in terms of how you want to time it. But if you kind of have a good read on your opponent's hand, you can easily shut down Mage and Rogue turns as well. So I don't hate that as an inclusion whatsoever.
Yeah, I think that's probably the big one here. Up against Rogue, it's often not quite so impactful, but I suppose, if they're leading up to a big Edwin turn, you can delay it for one extra turn. That can be the difference maker. He has, of course, cut Magtheridon from his list, as seems to be almost unanimously the case across the vast majority of Demon Hunters, given that Druid, again, took a big hit. It was expected to not see much play. So you got to imagine here on the Rogue for Flurry, the plan is going to be what it usually is against Demon Hunter, of make a really, really big guy and hope that the Demon Hunter can't answer it. That's my plan, at least.
Yep, sizable gentleman, big guy, large fellow. We've developed many, many terms for Edwins and questings as HSGM has moved on. But Flurry knows what's up, keeps his questing, keeps the prep even without a spell in hand, but any secret could help that game plan.
And even if he doesn't hit the questing right out of the gate, the Evil Miscreant can actually wreak a fair amount of havoc, in my opinion, with what the Demon Hunter is trying to do. If they don't have the minions to trade into all of your guys at the start, just going super wide with a bunch of lackeys can be very disruptive, because it stops the Blade Dance from activating properly. You're getting in a lot of chip damage, and the only really effective way to clear it is the Shard Shatter, which they don't have.
Right.
If they don't have it, can be very annoying.
It's true. The lackeys and the miscreant itself are of a shape where they're kind of not efficiently traded into by minions, and the Demon Hunter never wants to sink that much damage into them because they're just dealing one damage. But it can stack up pretty quickly, and as you said, Shaxy does not have the Shard Shatter Mystic, although he at least has Soul Shear to get a shard into the deck.
If Witchy Lackey didn't exist, I think Shaxy could probably quite happily play Wandmaker and ignore this Miscreant for the moment, maybe attack him with hero power. But because of the fear of it just being turned instantly into a 4-drop next turn, I really wouldn't be too surprised to see Wandmaker Twin Slice now.
I was actually interested in the Shear and Hero Power just to make sure you have the Fragment in the deck for turn 5. The next turn could be just Kain on curve. But
okay.
Even with the Wandmaker line, you still have a Soul Shear possibility, but maybe a less efficient target if you're expecting like 2 lackeys to come down.
Interesting. I guess if you are expecting lackeys to be the play on the following turn, Kain is not terrible. Into that, you can just value trade in and keep something on the board. Okay, I'm on board with this line.
Yep. I don't mind it either. But now that the Cult Neophyte makes the Kain just dead on board, no matter what you trade into or if you go face, we could see Twin Slice Wandmaker.
The Blade Dance complicates that a little bit, because you obviously want to save the Twin Slices to go with the Blade Dance here, I think, with this hand. In order to kill off a big Edwin and a big questing, as we've said a bunch of times. But it is just way more efficient to go with the Wandmaker Twin Slice on this turn, I agree.
If we're thinking about when Blade Dance comes down, it's approximately in 2 turns, maybe, if you have turn 5 earmarked for the Lapidary. Okay, with another Twin Slice, I am 100% on board. Before we saw what the Wandmaker gave, though, I would be interested in also just hero powering the Lackey. I think you made a strong argument.
Time
Yes, yeah. Without the second miscreant, the knowledge of the second miscreant, I think you can definitely, as Shaxy here, expect to be able to set up a decent blade dance. So hoarding these twin slices and second slices does sound like a good deal to me.
Okay, this could be the
Ooh.
questing turn.
So you can get it up to 5/5 if you go for the blackjack stunner as well, which obviously does set off some alarm bells, right? Because
So
that
many
walks
options.
very cleanly into a lapidary on the following turn.
It does. Instead of blackjack, he could also go goblin lackey if he wants to maybe save the utility on this bounce for something more
Don't let
impactful.
the door hit you.
But he won't necessarily have a secret in the near future, so it's gonna be the stunner here.
You know what? I'm actually, I don't think I'm on board with this play. I think there's too many punishes here because uh, the thing I should say is that if it's lapidary, it's worst, obviously, because you get a pretty bad minion off of the plagiarize. What I wanted to try and do was set up a questing on a turn where they have to play multiple resources to clear it off, and then you get a much more valuable plagiarize on the same turn. Whereas it looked to me like Miscreant on that turn was reasonably powerful to just clear the board and get another couple of lackeys online.
I do agree. The payoff, obviously, if there's not a lapidary on the other side, is you potentially win the game straight up. But I think Shaxy with the early Soul Shear on a non-threatening minion was kind of telegraphing that he had something brewing for turn 5. For Flurry, though, he still has, if he wants, just lapidary of his own.
Double time and double pay. Oh, up to no good.
I think I'm aboard with the miscreant line because even though you are oftentimes setting up to be taking 5 damage here, unless you hit Kobold or Rush, or I guess an especially fortunate Spell Lackey, you just want to be proactively going for your own game plan here. I think Soul Shard Lapidary, it sticks a 5/5 on board, which very often is just cleared off, and then you're in the exact same position next turn.
Pretty funny, because I was hoping that by playing that, Shaxy would expend resources to clear it off, and then you can flick their lapidary without your lapidary disappearing.
Oh, true,
I don't
yeah.
know if I was thinking too far in the future, but it's just weird because
Fair
I think
point.
Flurry is gonna flick the 5/5 in the near future, which would delete the card, his own lapidary from his hand. The dragons was an interesting choice as well. All of them very, very expensive. I do like the Alex pick. Rogue, you generally don't expect them to have healing, so maybe he puts Shaxy in a position where he's going all face, and then Flurry has
I grow
health.
impatient.
And I think while this is a bit of an annoying turn, it's one that you have to take. Like, not using the skull here sucks, but just look how strong this Shard Shatter is, and just look how much damage you're taking on the board. Like, Shaxy is dying here.
This power.
Not often I'm fine with giving up a skull, but it is very justified here, I would say. The rest of the mana, though, just an inefficient wand maker, I wouldn't mind. And send the 5 face.
Yeah, I think I prefer that to killing off the 1/1.
There's one lackey that Shaxy has left unaccounted for, so Witchy is always a bit of a fear.
Wow.
Maximum respect. Oh, it hurts! It hurts! It hurts!
It does
a
hurt.
card from your hand.
Yeah, you're not happy about it. And this is like, I mean, obviously I wasn't thinking about Flick when I said that it's a low value plagiarize, but you delete a 5/5, you probably weren't going to play it for a while anyway. It sucks, but I think it's the right play for sure from Flurry.
Hide behind
Shaxy,
yourself.
sensing weakness, starts to get on board himself. I think this is very strong. It's unlikely that Flurry is able to race Shaxy down. I want to send everything face.
Really?
I don't know, I was just looking at the Blade Dance in hand. I think it was in Shaxy's favor to get Flurry to extend more, and then just wipe everything away with Blade Dance. But again, he still doesn't know about this last lackey, and he was respecting Witchy last turn, so I suppose he's respecting it again this turn.
Yeah, he could have got value trade up to 7-drop. It's a close one. And I think he's still probably setting up for a strong Blade Dance with this play. You're expecting a lot of proactive development from your opponent here.
On wings
House of Evil.
Okay, that's not bad.
Which one?
Oh, I mean, I was looking at Twilight Drake, but I guess he's just too afraid of taking the damage. Fair enough.
Yeah. Ooh, that unlocked Skull.
Wait, do you want to?
I don't think
Two
you
of them
do. I
then?
want Skull this turn.
I want Skull as well, yeah. That just feels like
Okay.
we're not playing Skull now on this turn.
Yeah, I guess he's blade dancing.
Really? Over
I don't
Skull?
know. The mana seems very inefficient here. I don't know.
This feels incredibly weak by comparison. Like, he's just shuffled more
Yeah.
soul fragments into his deck as well, so his Skull is just worse now.
I mean, he has a very solid grip on the board, but it's tough for Shaxy to put Flurry on any reads because his hand is entirely generated cards. So I'm really not sure the way you're supposed to go about it, but I certainly would have Skulled there, not
Yeah.
expecting to die in the near future because it's generated cards instead of Eviscerates, which are in the deck.
Exactly. It's literally all generated cards in hand, which, like, could be Pyroblast if you want to be extremely generous here. But I am, I think, much more afraid
Ooh.
of just not getting the cards I need to win the game.
So I want the 5 attack face up. Kane is sticky. Karen, I mean, is sticky, but Shaxy is at 12.
Really?
So
Over
many
Ken?
options.
For one attack, it's so much worse of a minion.
Okay, I guess the breakpoints aren't that different because you have Secret Passage. Like, 1 Eviscerate deals 4 anyway.
I
So
guess.
if you have 8 on board, it's still lethal with 1 Eviscerate. Okay, I'm sold.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say it's unlikely they have a Blade Dance, which is a point in Unseen Saboteur's favor because they only have one card that you don't know what it is in hand. But I still just think you're potentially fighting for board for a couple of turns here.
This Skull is stuck!
Play the Wandmaker? Play Second Slice plus the Panther? Like, you can play it,
grow
Outcast, or you could just
impatient.
play it for full 6 mana given the amount of shards in your deck. It might not be that much worse, to be honest.
Yeah, there are 3 fragments in Shaxy's deck at the moment. It's not that many,
Oh, I guess that's not that many, yeah.
but he really does need to heal. Right now, he's like an Evis and a half from dying.
Well, he just has
wait.
lethal, right?
Never
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah,
or you
yeah.
just get the Marrow Slicer.
Yep, and I mean, I guess fair play to Shaxy, you know, by getting the 2/2/4s on board here, he did immediately develop more tempo, and he would on the last turn only ever had 1 mana left over if he'd played the Skull, so he wouldn't have been able to play any of the big 5-drops. I still think it was a bit of a weird one from Shaxy, but the tempo demon line, I guess, does work out for him in the end.
It was very interesting towards the end game, and I can't call anything wrong, even though it looked weird because Flurry's hand was all generated cards. You can have pretty much no reads
Yeah.
on what they would take from that point. So, maybe Shaxy was just looking at the odds in his deck that just if you develop 7 damage on the board as he did there, and it manages to connect base, then on average, even an unoutcasted Skull might be able to give him lethal or just draws with the Mana Feeder Panthera. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, fair play to him. It's not the way that I think a lot of people would have played it, but it's one of those weird plays that happens every so often from Shaxy where it feels like because he does, you know, make some technical mistakes sometimes, or maybe a little bit too quick to be harsh on him. And I'm still definitely not convinced that that was the way to go, but I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that he saw something that we didn't there in terms of the just getting the amount of stats on board that he did and push for lethal that way. It was an interesting way to go about it, and it did work out for him in the end. 2-0 up. Shaxy very, very close to guaranteeing his spot in the top 4 of Division B. No chance of relegation for Shaxy whatsoever at that point. And Flurry, if he wants to get there, is going to have to get the full 3-0 on the Mage, which, to be fair, has time and again been the weak spot in a lot of these lineups.
It has seemed that way because there's so much Tempo Demon Hunter, there's now more Face Hunters, and Rogues seem to have a pretty good matchup. Tempo Mage, it feels like, on paper, does not have the best position in the meta right now, but because of the nature of the deck, where even when it's unfavored, it's not lower than 45% a lot of the time, and it's extremely unpredictable. You can generate the cards to get you the win in any matchup. I don't expect it to get swept very often.
Yeah, I mean, I think against Rogue, it's a perfectly fine matchup. Even against Bomb Warrior, most of the time, like, I don't have that terrible of a matchup on ladder. Like, obviously, if they hit the perfect wrench caliber, hit you in the face 5 times, and then you die curve, you're not going to win. But outside of that, it doesn't feel terrible.
Yep. If Bomb Warrior gets that hand, they beat your matchup anyway.
Very true.
I'll say right off the bat, I like the mulligan from Shaxy. He did throw away one Thief, and the one he got back was post-mulligan. I think one Thief has been a big trap for people and maybe lowering their win rate by a couple of percentages when kept.
Yeah, I think that when you're trying to spend your mana on minions in the early turns, like, there are very few good options from one Thief. It's just a 1-mana 1/2 in terms of the immediate impact it has early on. This hand, though, is not terrible at all from Shaxy. It's definitely leading up to, I would imagine, a turn 5 Giant. Probably you're trying to hit him, maybe turn 6, which is always pretty powerful to just throw down against Warrior.
Yep. One cram session away from a good time is Shaxy.
Yes.
Spell? Yeah. You can time that into a Brawler Bleedstorm, which can be devastating for the Warrior.
A Pexis Blast can shoot your opponent in the face for 8 damage on the next turn, though, however, which also has its merits.
Big merits. It's a bit weird, because I think Flurry is trying to set up for a Bleedstorm, but there's 3 different health breakpoints here that make everything super awkward.
Do you just, like, attack into the Thalnos and go, nothing to see here, no suspicious plays from me?
I think you kill the lab partner.
Okay,
The same amount of attack removed.
And much less
And you don't give them the draw. Yeah, much less sus.
Ooh, okay. Coin Cobalt obviously being the strongest tempo play right now, I suppose, but I wouldn't turn my nose up too quickly at a Coin Wandmaker any spell plus Cyclone on this turn either.
True, but I think Shaxy does have Bleedstorm on the mind here, so I much prefer Cobalt Spellkin.
Okay, fair enough. True.
Ooh.
That's
so now
the
he can swing into the Thalnos, then Sword and Board Bleedstorm. Is there a more efficient way of doing this?
Well, you'd have to swing into the 3/5, right? And then...
Oh, yeah, sorry. Swing 3/5, Sword and Board Thalnos, and Bleedstorm. Or upgrades, and you don't necessarily even have to Bleedstorm this turn?
Yeah, I mean, now he can go, like, Sword and Board, Shield Slam. I don't know, I liked the look of the Bladestorm on that turn. I thought it looked fairly strong.
I think that if you're taking the turn to buff up your Wrench Caliber and go Cutting class, it looked like you're just gonna send everything face and do the Bladestorm thing next turn. But he's also concerned with his health total, so now it's double Bladestorms in hand, which are a bit more difficult to maneuver.
This is okay, yeah, I'm okay with this. I mean, with the line we were suggesting, you still ended up sinking the damage into a minion. So it's not like we can fault him for missing damage at all with this play.
You don't break the wall, see?
Well, Elemental Allies into Cyclone into Giant is a way to draw 3 spells that looks fairly powerful.
Ooh, he's giving it up. I just felt like Shaxy needed to get going at some point. They have the 5/3 weapon. That is a clock face up.
You are dying quickly here as Shaxy. Like, Flurry can just hero power and swing face here. I really wouldn't be too sad to see that at all.
Yeah. It's probably looking to Galakron on the next turn, so you could take like just a small Bladestorm here. I don't know if it's worth committing either or Shield Slam to make that cleaner.
I guess the argument is, and it's I think quite a valid one, that Shield Slam gets a lot worse from here on in. After you're looking to Galakrond on the following turn, like a 1 damage Shield Slam is maybe the best you're gonna get. My counter argument would be that, like, if you leave this up, it makes their development of Giant really weak on coming turns, or Jandis, or even Raz. You know, just anything onto the board, you can just brawl away. Whereas now you have to go like second Blade Storm if they go for the Giant, and then you're left in a bit of a precarious position in terms of their continual development.
It did have, I mean, both lines had their ups and downs. I get your argument about the Shield Slam, but I think the Whirlwind is equally difficult to use from that point, if not on that turn. Whoa.
Well, I mean, like... This gets interesting, because would you rather trade a Shield Slam for 5 damage to the face? I'm kind of starting to think yes. With like Galakrond and Kronks in hand, I think I just wanted more damage.
So was your play just Galakrond there, or?
No, Shield Slam plus the Blade Storm, and then hit face.
Oh,
and then
I see.
Galakrond next turn.
With this line, you do get more armor from Galakrond, so the Shield Slam,
right,
save for turn 8, technically still has some utility. I was honestly interested in just equipping Galakrond and then trying to brawl the next board, but that had some failure rate for sure, namely 8 to the face.
Here we see, though, the straight-up no-board Solarian, a risky prospect indeed, with Rolling Fireball in the equation. But that's the one that you are looking for there.
It's not just Rolling Fireball. It's... Oh my gosh, anything that, like, Rays of Frost, Brain Freeze, that type of thing. But
yeah. Rolling
you'll take a frozen Solarian to generate these 2 worms.
It's pretty good. It still seemed like a definitely not intuitive play from Shaxy, I'll say, because he does now lose the side quest. He has only 1 elemental in hand, and, you know, like I said, Solarian can be very powerful, as we saw here. This was an incredibly powerful 7-mana play, but it came with downside in a very real way, and it's best used reactively. We both know it.
Oh, big pickup from Flurry, though.
Mm.
Boom as an 11/11 next turn. Currently 4 bombs in the deck, 5 after this hit. But it feels like Flurry could have maybe gotten 5 more damage at some point.
I mean, I think for me, it's not even the fact that he could have got 5 more damage. It's just he should have more removal cards in hand. Like, so far on a bunch of really small, non-impactful minions, we've seen Sword and Board, Whirlwind, Blade Storm. There's now been a Shield Slam that brought, like, a whole bunch of removal cards have been used. And I feel like 1 at least could have been saved here at the cost of a little bit of health.
I think the turn that he went for the Sword and Board on Solarian instead of setting up a Blade Storm, that already indicated that he was fine leaving up the smaller guys into a brawl. But then he committed further into moving those. Anyway, for Shaxy, he is going in with the burst spells. I like this line because you make more room for the Apprentice evocation on the next turn. Just trying to win the race.
Yeah, I mean, it also just locks out pure development on the other side. Flurry cannot play Blastmaster Boom anymore. He will just die.
Oh man, is this Brawl and Pray with the Evil Quartermaster and Lackey?
It's that, or it's Wrench Caliber, Hero Power Swing and Pray is currently where I'm at.
I'm not liking that. You would need 3 bombs off the top for that to work.
Yeah, doesn't seem likely. Let's take the 50-50 instead.
Here we go. Uh-oh.
Definitely not what Flurry wanted to see there.
The only solace is that Shaxy can't target it with his Conjurer's Call.
That's true. That's something. But now, obviously, Shaxy trying to represent that 2-turn lethal once again. And even though the cards are kind of confused as to where they should be, that Deep Freeze to me looks absolutely premium on this turn.
Backbreaking. it kind of means Flurry's only outs are just bombs directly off the top,
Right.
or boom into a whirlwind effect, and you've already seen 2 Blade Storms and a whirlwind. And he only runs 1 whirlwind, so
That's it.
there's nothing left.
Yeah. He's got nothing left. Obviously, he could go for Kronks into Taunt, I suppose? Or obviously like draw Brawl or something
Yeah.
in order to clear the board instead.
I think it's draw Brawl.
And you can't play Wrench Caliber first because then you don't have mana.
Mm-hmm. Because the thing with Kronk's taunt is even if everything goes right for you, then your taunt just gets frozen again. And then, I mean, it gets killed and then your face gets frozen again. And then it's the same problem for the next turn. So I'm interested in trying to get rid of as many minions as possible.
Trying to look at weird outs in the deck. And I'm not really seeing it. Deathwing Mad Aspect, I guess, would have been a decent draw a couple turns ago, but it's getting too late for that now.
I am unbreakable, but time is fleeting.
5 bombs in Shaxy's deck. Flurry needs 4 for this to work.
He's just going for the draw. I think he's going 5 damage face, actually, to be honest. And just saying,
okay.
At this point,
I do like that.
Yeah, take your 3 bombs. Hope it gets there.
1. And that's it. He's not dead on board because the apprentice is frozen, so I actually do like that line a lot.
Yeah, seems smart. Best chance to try and survive.
Ropes in protection.
Pretty funny, I will give you that.
Shaxy just fishing for lethal with his cyclones. I like that.
Okay.
Are you supposed
Pretty
to
good
punch
chances
first?
to 2 cyclones.
I think. Oh, okay. With 2 cyclones, maybe you just don't have the mana to do everything anyway.
Second cyclone, we're looking for Fireball, Frostbolt.
Frostbolt. Apexis Blast
will do as well because of the mana discount. 3-0 victory for Shaxy. And for once, Gia, it's a rare opportunity. We get a little bit of emotion from Shaxy. And is that a little bit of BM I see as well? Easy for Shaxy? I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll call it that.
When you do this gesture, it means like you're good looking or something. So I don't know if that's the same in Taiwan, but I'm pretty happy to see from Shaxy. Even in the previous game, he was pumped when he won, and he is absolutely elated to be at the very top of Division B, 5-2 now, and I'm not sure if anyone can overtake him.
Yes, I mean, I think in Division B it doesn't make all too much difference, just as long as you're in the top 4. And he's now cemented his spot, because what it all comes down to is whether Tiz can win his game. If Tiz loses his game to be played out tomorrow against Kin, I believe, then the top 4 that are currently top 4 are cemented in that spot, whereas it can go wrong if Tiz wins. But now that Shaxy's won, he has guaranteed himself to be safe from any chance of relegation. Flurry does have that small chance still that he could be relegated. It would have to be like 3 matches lost in a row, not just from him, but 3 specific matches played out for him to lose. But either way, it's still looking pretty decent for Flurry, but the man of the hour right now, Shaxy, doing it in style.
Yeah, right from game